Well, welcome back to another Rain World PowerPoint presentation by yours truly. I wanted to do kind of like a smaller version of this just to recap on a few key things that I wanted to talk about from after my Gourmand playthrough. If anyone here is new, this lore recap is not intended to be informative, but more of a snapshot in time for my channel's blind playthrough thus far, which I'd recommend you watch. As an extra recap, I have played Survivor, Monk. I have had 2 hunter attempts, but not very good ones and not much lore out of them. I've read 2 pearls, met 3 echoes, or talked to 3 at least. And now I can add Gourmand to the list. All that said, we'll get right into it. Our very first subject is I was right. The second I got to Sunken Pier and I went to the ground floor, the second I saw these trees with the lights or whatever, I was like, hey, this is kind of like the beginning cutscene in Survivor. And I feel like I'm right. I'm absolutely right. This is the Outer Expanse. The starting area of Survivor is the Outer Expanse. Absolutely great. Absolutely great. This next slide is also from my Survivor playthrough. You've got 2 berries right there hanging down. And it's a huge tree. It's like a huge tree that we're in. Absolutely fascinating. And you see the rains are here, but like I was made the assumption that the rains were worse out here, and that to escape the rains is why we would be going towards, I guess, Five Pebbles domain, his territory. But with Gourmand, at least I found that in the Outer Expanse, the rains come and I don't die. It's if anything, it seems like it's less, like it's more safe out here. So why would we be migrating towards? My only guess, obviously, is that there's a way out, I guess, to the west down beneath. And that's what Five Pebbles wanted me, I guess, to tell my kind. I guess we're tired of the mundane nature of life, which is interesting. Hope to learn more about that in the future. Our next slide is right here. Yes, this is what I wanted to do a comparison with, because this looks exactly like the starting cutscene of the game. You see there's a sort of opening here to our left, but in the foreground, I've got our 2 hanging berries that are out here. We also have the exact same like mushroom staircase, I guess. It's just a 1-to-1. It's exactly, it's I don't know. It just makes me happy to finally see this place in the game. All right, and then for our next one, I made the mistake in my last episode of, for some reason, assuming that Gourmand was here, like somewhere present. Doesn't really matter that much. Clearly, I was still right in that Gourmand seems to have passed down info, because it seems like Gourmand, they were a scouting this new land. Still don't know whether this is actually like the monk and the survivor and the hunter. It'd be cool to think that they are, and game-wise, I think that's the main method by which they have to communicate who the different characters are, is their signature colors. Technically, though, I did see quite a large variety of slugcats here, so these could just be representative of slugcat children in general, learning from Gourmand's lessons, I guess. And then, of course, we have this next slide here, which these are the only 2 scenes, I guess, we got at the end. One thing I thought of is, why not just 1 frame? Why is there 2 frames? And the second frame here shows me that they're leaving. You've got a guy showing up, pointing out that way, and I think that implies that it's time for them to migrate. This is sort of the beginning of the slugcat migration. Now, in our next frame, of course, we've got what actually seems to have happened to Gourmand. And I didn't comment on this per se last time, but every end screen like this for the playthrough has shown me basically the fate of the slugcat I just played through. Survivor and Monk, they've like ascended. Hunter at the moment has died. I am sorry. But Gourmand hasn't ascended, and I don't think they're one who needs to ascend. I think they've sort of done their duty. They seem to be staying behind, if anything, perhaps not migrating, which would make sense, because if you're like one of the only ones who apparently didn't care about a way out. At this point in the lore, I can't fault them for staying back, and I'm really more confused, or not confused, because I might have an answer for it, but at least I'm not understanding the slugcat migration to begin with. Because at least to me right now, this is just how it feels. It feels like the cycles that everyone's talking about and wants a way out of is kind of just life, and maybe to a greater extent that the iterators have to deal with, maybe like the end of the world as a whole, or supporting of life in general. And I will say, if that's the case, and that that's the purpose that everyone here is striving towards, then I personally am sort of more with Gourmand at the moment. I'm comfortable with just dying one day. To each their own. Okay, now for this next one, I had a pretty minor thing. It was this thing. This is from the memory crypts area in the Shaded Citadel. But these huge boxes that are all out here have like these designs or whatever on them that I didn't at that point hadn't seen elsewhere in the game. And I made note of it in one of my last Gourmand episodes because the civilization in the Outer Expanse has the exact same architecture, I guess. Like the iron gate sort of circular designs. Last picture had its brightness and contrast up like a ton, by the way. Anyways, yeah, not actually that much to say about the Outer Wastes right now. It's another area, and it's a pretty cool area. It's pretty west, I would say. It seems like once in the path there was like a train that went from like through the subterranean, which the subterranean goes all the way to looks to the moon, which is insane. So it's like I think it's basically supposed to go through the entirety of Five Pebbles domain, but it also connects or at least goes through here, the Outer Expanse. Obviously, it's long since stopped functioning. And I don't know, I just find these like structures out here to be super, super cool. There's just so much structure here that I just have to say, it really is a shame that it all has gone to waste. Clearly, there was an ancient civilization who seems to have made this entire world. But until I decipher pearls, I suspect I'm not going to learn as much about it specifically. And I will get to the pearls one day. Now, my next trick, or not my next trick, my next slide. Here's all the dialogue from my good friend Five Pebbles. I'm not going to read it all here, but I am going to use it as a jumping off point to have a quick discussion on the timeline of Five Pebbles. Now, from my initial perspective, before I knew, like, I guess Gourmand seemed to have been a prologue, it seemed like that Five Pebbles talked, like, in line with how I expected him to, because it was in line with how I, the player, have been meeting Five Pebbles. In Survivor, they seemed benevolent. With Monk, they seemed more tired. Gourmand is, like, similarly tired. The dialogue itself isn't helpful in placing Gourmand in the timeline, because if anything, it seems like it's evidence for it being later. Mostly because, and the thing that's holding me up is that in Survivor, you know, Five Pebbles was way nicer. It actually tried communicating with me in several different like languages before it just like gave me the mark of communication or whatever. Every clue that I have to go off of seems to suggest to me, as of now, that Gourmand is the earliest Slugcat I've played so far, which I could confirm using by trying to go to the Outer Wastes, or at least the Sunken Pier, in my Survivor playthrough now and in my Monk playthrough now, because if I can, then that definitely means Gourmand came first. It is confirmable, but I'm not going to confirm it yet. I enjoy the mystery. But the thing about Gourmand being first is that this now means that there has now been at least several multiple Slugcats who've been here before Gourmand, which is also before Survivor. So like, why is it so nice to Survivor when you're potentially meaner to Gourmand? I can't tell. It's an enjoyable mystery. Now, if we want to get into my really crack and meta theory, it's that Five Pebbles as an iterator is somehow intelligent enough to be transcending time itself, and it is simply responding to me, the player, regardless of what Slugcat playthrough that I'm on. Pretty unlikely, I would say, but it's kind of a fun idea to have just like a thing that like if Gourmand was my first playthrough, I don't think it can be. But if like Monk was my first playthrough, then maybe Five Pebbles would have been nice to Monk. And then even if Survivor canonically took place earlier, Five Pebbles like knows me, the player. I don't think that's the case though at all. That's my crackpot theory. We don't talk about it. Anyways, then Five Pebbles shows off this. I honestly don't have a lot to say here except that this is the two squares in the middle are potentially like the shape of the entire big box that we're in. On the right is what I would assume is Five Pebbles domain. The areas in the middle are probably like chimney canopy, or at least sky islands, or I guess now subterranean. Maybe subterranean's like the bottom one, because the subterranean does go out now, you know what I mean? Like the subway tracks go, you know, across air. So it's like, I don't know. That could imply that this left structure is somewhere I might not have been to yet, or is like partially the Outer Wastes, or is, to be honest, it could be like Sliver of Straws area, but I don't know. I think I'm overcooking with this because, you know, the squares in the middle, they don't have any other sort of symbols with them. There's no like city on top or pillars beneath, so it's not very clear it's supposed to be a map of the area anyway. That said, there are a lot on the outside here, a lot of entryways. that 5 Pebbles seems to have blocked off. One thing I really wonder about is about whether or not I can access like all of these through the map, because I've only ever found one of them. I suspect probably not. I suspect at least, I mean, maybe for another DLC cat there could be another one, and I don't have much else to say. Here's the rest of the dialogue that 5 Pebbles had to say. Not much to say here, except that he does refer to the outer wastes as, you know, the wastes below. He refers to the outskirts, the subterranean, that whole area as like still part of his territory. Definitely meaning that the sunken pier and the outer wastes are not part of his territory. As far as I know, pretty much the only places in the game that aren't. Except maybe like, I don't know, the depths. We're gonna move on from this mystery now for a second to talk about this. Look, you need to memorize this image really, really well real quick, all right? Because guess what? Oh my God, look, it's a big tower, clouds, and a big, big box in the background there. Now I know the Rain World map is supposed to be pseudo 3D, so it's like, even though I've only gone like further and further west, I wonder if like that hole right there is literally where I'm at, or if not. It would be kind of funny if so. Alternatively, because of its pseudo 3D-ness. But whatever it is, it's kind of chilling to know that it's another Iterator's territory over there. At least I assume. Anyways, that's all. And now we've reached the end of the presentation. Psych, it's not the end. You've seen the video length, surely. Actually, I don't know how many people pay attention to the video length when they're watching things. Regardless, I said I would do this. I said I would do this in like my 44th episode. I said I would do a gourmand's favorite meals. Not favorite meals. I just say I'd come up with some names for the meals. And now, ironically, I didn't do a lot of meals, and there's still some things I want to try with crafting. So I'm definitely going to return to gourmand. I don't know if probably in a playthrough. There's probably some things in gourmand I still haven't figured out properly. But yeah, I didn't do that many meals, so I've only prepared 4 for you guys today. So I hope you will enjoy. Behold. First, the Radiant Rainberry, and yes, I've drawn art of all of these meals as well. Today I present to you the Radiant Rainberry, a truly unique combination that blends the sweetness, sugar, and juices of what I've called the rainberry. You know, the blueberries everywhere. Okay, cool. With a delicious light-emitting lichen scraped directly off the walls of the exterior. Now, the location of this lichen simply guarantees a variety of flavors, considering all the different creatures that could have stepped on it. And those flavors are only accentuated with a signature splash of our world-renowned rain-fed berries. Delicious, right? Delicious. Would you eat this meal? Would you eat this meal? All right, time for our next meal. The Kitty Crunch Wrap. Might I interest you in the Kitty Crunch Wrap, a daring creation made from the very same flavorful and stepped-on lichen. This time, with a satisfying protein-filled, crunchy twist. Eat the children of your enemies today for only $4.99 a pop. The flavor and the texture is simply a once-in-a-lifetime combination. Sure to be a nourishing addition to any culinary collection. Please just make certain none of its parents are nearby before ingestion. Alright, how about that? Would you guys eat it? Gourmand would. Gourmand would eat all of these in a heartbeat. Time for our next dish, the Batberry Bomb. How about stepping up your game with the Batberry Bomb, where we take a live bat fly and simply stuff it inside one of these spike berries, or the berries with like kind of a shell you gotta, you know, like the crack open. Crack open its spiked exterior to enjoy the perfect protein punch within, saturated with the savory sweet pulp of the spike berry. It's simply exploding with flavor. Okay, how about that? Would you eat that? All right, here's our last dish. The Scavena Bag. Ethically sourced from the plant life in various regions, our eco-friendly bag that the dead body comes in is sure to add a whole new layer of novelty and fun to the experience of eating a dead scavenger. Every bite is packed with that chewy flavor you'd expect from a creature so resourceful and capable of craftsmanship, economic exchange, and governance, with at least one seeming law backed by violence from the state. But hey, you know what they say. Revenge is best served cold. That is everything I have for you all today. Thank you for watching. I really didn't read any pearls this playthrough, so there's no new ancient civilization or Iterator lore that I have. That'll definitely change one day, but today was not that day. And hey, that's okay because we're going to be doing Artificer next. So thank you everybody for watching. Leave a like on the video, subscribe if you're ready for that, and I'll see you in the next one. Farewell.